Hello, everyone. Megan here from Romance by the Book with lovely Marielle.
Oh,
And our guest this month is Elizabeth Stevens.
Hello,
hello.
hello.
We're so
Hi.
happy to have you here. We loved All Superheroes Need PR, and we're really excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm so glad.
So,
It
sorry, go
it
ahead.
was really fun even from the title. I was like, "Oh, I'm in it."
I can't
Yeah,
believe they went
absolutely.
with that title. I really hate coming up with titles, and that was one that I had suggested. And I was kind of hoping, I was like, the one thing that having a good editorial team will do is they'll pick a title for me. And they were like, okay, we like this one. It's like, oh, okay.
So I guess I'll start with just how have you always been into superheroes, or was this was this a story that was percolating for a long time, or was it just something that kind of struck you one day? How did that work?
No, I'm not really a superhero person, actually. I mean, I've watched like all the superhero movies and I watched like Deadpool versus Wolverine on rerun now. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
hilarious. But I do love monsters and I have always wanted to write a contemporary romance. And so being both in my contemporary romance era and my monster era, this was like a very strange birthing between the two. Yeah. Yeah. And so it was yeah, it was more, I think it was more driven by like my love of like aliens and monsters, and I needed a way to make them kind of fit into the human world.
That does lead into and maybe answer a little bit the question I had about how you decided to make. I mean, I feel like there is canon of superheroes who are aliens, but what made you decide on the premise of this world? Like it's similar to our world, except that a bunch of pods fell from the sky with children in them.
Yes, so I
Um,
have to give that credit. Well, a lot of the writing of this book came from watching The Boys. So
uh-huh.
I started watching The Boys. I never finished it because I was like, this is like the worst of humanity, and I can't continue the series. It was so
Fair.
dark, so dark.
Yeah.
And but as I was watching it, I was like, gosh, it's kind of like weird that we only see like Marvel and DC comics have kind of like all of them kind of follow with the exception of Tony Stark, and there's probably more. I don't know that many superheroes. All superheroes are kind of like have their alter egos and like their hidden
Mhm.
identities. And I loved this, like just superheroes being out in the open. And I loved the kind of critique of capitalism on it. And I was like, of course,
Mhm.
that's what would happen if superheroes were real. They would be brands, of course. And so I wanted to take that concept and kind of work with it somehow. And I really think it's a lack of creativity on my part because I've done aliens so many times. And Lord of Population was the first one where I like kind of Deus Ex Machina my way into like, how do these creatures like exist? And like, I went through a whole
Mhm.
spiral of like, even my husband was like, what if it's like a hospital that was like contaminated at birth? But then it just like it didn't work because I wanted this element of I mean, if you've read my book, it's a little bit of a spoiler if you haven't, but like I wanted this kind of like hidden villain network, and that wouldn't make sense if the origin story was Earth itself. So
Right.
I went back to what I did best, which is having aliens fall from the sky as a solution to my problems.
That's
I
awesome.
felt like that was really, I mean, it felt unique, but it felt so like, of course, that's like, if that happened in a world like our world, of course, they would turn into a corporation. We would need to have a whole like media machine and photo shoots and all the things.
Totally.
Yep.
Um, so it was fun. And also just the fact that they were like branded villains and branded heroes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, was interesting. And I feel like it set up some interesting questions for later. So I'll probably ask about that in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was curious if there was a particular inspiration behind Roland, his eyes first being pink and then eventually his whole self being pink. Like, was there something about pink that Like you wanted it to specifically be pink, or like that was just like seemed fun?
Yeah, it absolutely seemed fun, but it's actually kind of part of this. Like, I was asked a question about the Bone King and the Starling because, spoiler if you haven't read that one, he's like this ruthless, savage. Oh, I hate using that word. Sorry, apologies. He's this ruthless, kind of cutthroat, bloodthirsty guy.
Yeah.
But he's also a virgin. And I really
Mhm.
love undercutting these like kind of broody, like the typical, alpha book talk,
Yeah.
kind of MMC with something just silly, and not just kind of characteristic. And so making him pink was really fun. And spoiler alert for book two, he turns out to be like baby blue. And so they're all gonna end up doing these like kind of ridiculous, like cotton candy
Pastel.
Teletubbies. Yeah, murderous Teletubby looking yeah, monsters.
That's awesome.
It's something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Curious too if there's like how you approach balancing the like comedic elements in this story because there are some really like fun and funny scenes and situations that are woven in there, but there's also some really serious themes. Vanessa has kind of a, a sad like trauma filled backstory, and we don't get a whole lot of Roland's point of view, but we do know that they were like experimented on, and like when they first landed, I can't imagine that that was like the easiest transition for
Yeah.
them. So how did you decide on like how like balancing those elements in the story?
I really wanted to write a rom-com, but I don't think it comes like totally naturally to me. And so kind of the darker elements just happened. Yeah. Like, so this is probably as close to like a light book as it gets for me. And that's just kind of the way my writing style lends itself.
It did feel like a fun summary read to me,
Yes.
even though it still tackled some, you know, kind of heavier topics, which I thought was like kudos to you because I was
Yeah,
like, I don't know
absolutely.
how she did that.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, it's funny because I read Alina Jacobs is probably like my favorite comedic
Mhm.
writer, and her books are just like laugh out loud, goofy, silly. And it's funny because there are elements that feel like they should be
Mhm.
like, this person's like living out of their car, but like it's still funny in the way that
Yeah.
she writes them. And I don't think I have the ability to like make the stuff that in real life would be serious. I don't have the ability to like undercut it with a humorous tone. So that stuff will translate as dark as I think I would find it in real life.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's the pink
Yeah.
monster that
Yeah,
does it for me.
exactly. I know. So I have to occasionally throw in something slapstick and stupid to keep things on the level.
So I guess then this that was sort of answered one of my questions, but I was curious about the comedic moments. And was that more fun for you because it was out of the norm, or was it more difficult for you because it was out of the norm?
It's more fun for me for sure. I really like I actually got oh, this is like kind of some behind the scenes stuff, but I'm currently like pitching other books now to traditional publishing, and one of them's like a pure contemporary romance. My again, another attempt at writing something lighter and funny and in the real world. And one of the editors came back to my agent and was like, I like funny, but I don't like slapstick. And I love slapstick. I think like people falling is just like one of the funniest, dumbest things ever. And was just something that I was like, I just had a lot of fun, including in this book in particular, especially because I knew that I was like all of the other series that I have indie right now are like really dark. And one of the
Mm.
main reasons I have for like I knew I've known for a long time I wanted to write something funnier. And so when this trad opportunity came around, I was like, okay, this is where I'm definitely going to plug this in because it's also like a nice schism, you know, like if
Right.
people, you know, discover my work and they're like, okay, I want to read her lighter stuff, they'll know where to go. And if they want to read my darker stuff, they'll know where to go. And so it was just a good opportunity for me to work on something totally outside of what of the tone that I usually write.
Well, and I loved that
Well,
you made the slapstick elements also kind of go in along with like the traditional like romance landia of the heroine being like clumsy or whatever. And like it was so much fun. I really liked it.
I saw a review, like one of the earlier reviews on this book that was critiquing the fact that it was like yet another clumsy heroine. And I just thought it was so funny because anyone who's read any of my catalog would find this character to be so atypical because I've never written, and it totally didn't even occur to me. And then I was like, of course, like the Bella Swan, like the
Right.
whatever, the Anna Gray, like 50 Shades of Grey characters are all kind of clumsy, like, of course. And so for me, this was really novel. But of course, for regular contemporary romance readers, this was, yeah, totally, you know, within the typical FMC trope.
I did feel like though because it was so tied to like her anxiety and her like I don't know, like we got it from her point of view and she was like not like she was not joking. Even if visualizing it in our head is like hilarious,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was like, oh my god, like every time she was
Yes.
like why? And
Why?
also, why
Yeah.
is he always the one that's here when this happens? Like it
Right.
just so it was really fun to see it from the point of view of the person who's not going like, oh, how sweet. She needs
Yeah,
help.
yeah. Oh,
The one
totally.
who's horrified that she just dropped coffee all over somebody or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so I guess in the books that are coming up, can we expect to see more of that push and pull between the concept of like heroes and villains? I feel like with this book, one of the things I loved the most was how like non-heroic Roland's instincts were. Like he legitimately was like, I should murder these people. And I mean, it tickled me more than probably it should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious. We'll see.
I love a homicidal hero for sure. Yeah.
Apparently, I do too.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. That's like one of the main things that goes into this. I'm currently desperately trying to get the publishing house to give me a book three because book two is following Tyrannus.
Mhm.
And he is like this golden boy, like super good, like the kind of the model hero that everyone like looks up to. He's kind of the poster
Yeah.
child for the heroes network. And like he's actually, I don't know, he might be like my favorite. It's hard. I can't pick MMCs because I'm always like attached to the ones that I wrote most recently, but he's one of my favorite MMCs I've ever written only because he's a pure narcissist and actually like a really terrible guy. And so his like veneer is just like immediately shattered is something you'll realize within like the first couple chapters of book two, which you know you can get if you sign up to my newsletter and stuff. The teasers are already out there demonstrating the depth of his terrible personality. And so it's just really fun because he's basically like double crossing the heroes. And then you have Monica who comes in who's going to try to like double cross his double cross. And the whole thing just gets really messy. And then book three, which I'm hoping again, I would self publish anyways, even if they didn't buy it from me, will be the Marduk's book and
Oh,
he's
nice.
a villain. And of course, that's got to be turned on its head as well.
Well, one of the things I thought was so interesting, like once all the cards are on the table, and if you guys haven't read, then spoiler alert. But once the cards are all on the table, it really does leave you feeling like any hero could be a villain and any villain could be a villain or a hero. Like anything could happen, really. Like whatever the brand is, isn't necessarily
Yeah,
what these
absolutely. And that's something that's definitely explored more is like how artificial the concepts of the hero villain brand is and how that is just like a purely capitalistic concept and just like a way to kind of like drive more money into the heroes industry in general.
like based
So
purely on what they look like, I guess. Like if you're golden, definitely you're going to be a hero.
right. And if you're, it's, if you're want to rob a bank, you can go join the villains network. But that's like such a thin veneer that like the Marduk who like runs the villains has like maintained because there's like this, subplot going on within the villains as well, that they're,
Right.
have a larger goal in the works.
Yeah.
That part was really fun. And especially with Roland kind of being a bit of an outlier, it seems like from the rest of the group where he did not choose a side at first.
Yeah.
He just kind of did his own thing until it suited him to do
Yes.
what he did. So I will be very interested in book two and seeing how differently it comes across, when he's like the hero and it turns out maybe not so much.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
and even knowing like not knowing how much each of the character of the like alien characters, how much they're aware of like their past or the purpose that they were sent for and all that kind of stuff. Like it
Yeah.
was, yeah, I thought that was really fun
Yeah, it
and
was
made me want to read more.
another
Yes.
example of world building just getting wildly out of hand. In retrospect, I do wish I had scaled it down back a little, but whatever.
Well,
No,
it was
you gave
great.
it to us and it's here
Yeah.
now.
It was great. That's so funny. Well, I guess we can ask you the things we always ask people that we talk to. And my question is, what is your favorite trope to read?
Oh gosh, definitely enemies to lovers.
Okay.
But I love it combined with forced proximity. So that's like to me the golden egg is my favorite.
Okay.
Cats
Yeah,
in a
that's
bag.
awesome.
Um, my question that I usually ask is more about your writing process, and if we were a fly in the wall when you're right in the thick of it, what would we see?
You would see me sitting on my couch or in my bed in the dark at like midnight, trying desperately to get like a few sentences in in between like breastfeeding my baby and trying to wrangle my toddler. So it's wild, wild west out here these days. There was more order a month ago before this guy was born. If anyone's
Yeah.
wondering why I keep, moving out of the picture, it's because there's a tiny talking. But yeah, he's being good now and having a nice nap. But it's definitely uh I do not have a regular schedule. It's just words, usually at night, however I can get them down on the paper.
Well, we're thankful that you get them on the paper because
Yes,
we've had a lot of fun reading your work.
definitely.
Thank you very much.
So is there anything that you want to talk about as far as things you have coming out next? I know we already discussed a little bit of book two in this series. But if you have anything else you want to
Yeah, I
throw out
mean,
there to
I'm so
everybody.
excited that book two actually is going to be published this year. I know with trad, there's usually really long wait time, so that was
Yeah.
fun. And again, fingers crossed that we'll get a book three sometime next year, and that would be like the concluding book in the series. But otherwise, yeah, I have a Kickstarter if you want more of my aliens monsters. Kickstarter with Ali Hazelwood and Adriana Herrera are kind of the
Oh, nice.
organizers of it. And then there's Nikki Payne and oh my gosh, guys, it's
It's
my
so
brain.
Sherry Thomas,
Yeah,
Claire
yeah,
Kent. It's huge. It's
Sherry
huge.
Thomas,
I'm
Sarah
very
Ken,
excited.
Kate Wells, my brain.
Yes, and Nisha Sharma.
Nisha Sharma, thank you.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome. I'm very
Oh my
excited.
gosh. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that one. Also because it like ticked a bunch of boxes for me because I'm also like a massive Fallout girly. So Fallout has
Oh,
kind of like reshaped my entire like brain because it's I started watching Fallout and I was like, holy crap, did I write this? Because the opening of Fallout is literally exactly like my Taken to the Picosa Warlord concept. So it's all like bunkers, humans in stasis, like flown forward a bajillion years into the future because there's a climate apocalypse. And then it's like them coming out and realizing that there's still stuff going on the surface. But the one thing it did is that my Taken by the Picosa Warlord is part of my Zaveri Mate series, which has a lot of darker themes and is not rom-commy at all. And I thought it was so fun watching my book being told in this hilarious way. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, why don't I try to make stuff funny more often? Like, this is great. Yeah. Like book 5 in my series, Taken to Core, is where I kind of got like a little funny. But yeah, I had so much fun because then I'd already written part of this other short story that's like a spin-off from Taken by the Picosa Warlord, still set in that universe, like still with the bunkers and still in this like post-apocalyptic world.
Nice.
And I wrote, for the first time ever, I wrote like a heroine who's just kind of an idiot. Most of my
Oh.
heroines are like purely like these capable, like gnarly, like sword wielding engineers. And this is like the artist who's selected to like cover the arts and humanities section for like all of humanity in the future. But she's just like not equipped for survival at all. And watching her fumble her way through this like post apocalyptic world, it was so fun. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that one. And then I have another Kickstarter, which hasn't been announced yet, but it will be coming out in like Q1 2026. So that is something to keep an eye out for. Very dark, non-con monsters, and just wild. World building again got totally away from me.
We're looking for the announcement for the Kickstarter at the beginning of 2026
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that if we sign up for your newsletter, we'll
Yes.
get all the info
All
and
the
all the links
details.
and everything.
Yes. I know. And because I have no filter, like Patreon, like knows everything like 10 months before it actually happens. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm supposed to share, but whatever.
So
No one
yeah,
will know.
Patreon's where you get all your inside info if
I
anybody
know.
wants
I'm
that.
like, it's like hidden behind a wall, so it's safe,
Yeah.
you know. Meanwhile, nah.
And so what's the best place for everybody to find you online?
Yeah, so definitely booksbyelizabeth.com is my website. You can find all the links there. And then E. Stevens author on Instagram, and I guess TikTok is disappearing again. So maybe there
Maybe.
or not. Yeah, whatever. But those are definitely the best place to find me in addition to on Patreon.
Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And everybody, we will see you next month.
See you
Yay.
then.
Thank you so much.